Hello YouTube and welcome to another GV anime review, which will be the first one of a bunch of reviews that I will release the next coming weeks. These reviews will cover the spring leftovers and the summer anime season. And the first summer anime to end was Shimoneta to Iu Gainen ga Sonzai Shinai Taikutsu na Sekai, or Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, or just Shimoneta for short. Now before I dive into this review, a small announcement. It seems that AniChart has been giving me a lot of false information lately, because in my update video I said that Shokugeki no Soma and Classroom Crisis would end past Friday, and neither of them ended. Shokugeki's final episode was delayed, and Classroom Crisis eventually has 13 episodes instead of the initially announced 12. So both of them will end this coming Friday. And then past Monday, Jitsuwa Watashiwa was supposed to end, but it seems that also that anime gets a 13th episode, which will air next week on Wednesday or Thursday. Now that we had that, let's get into today's review of Shimoneta. The story of Shimoneta takes place in the near future, where all forms of lewdness like porn, foul language and suggestive movements are banned by law, making Japan the country with the highest sexual morale. In this world we find Tanukichi Okuma, a boy who enrolls in a new high school to pursue his crush Ana Nishikinomiya, a girl who has super high moral standards and who is the head of the student council. Also in this student council we meet the vice president Ayame Kajo, who is in fact a dirty terrorist named Blue Snow. She then forces Okuma to join her terrorist organization called SOX, who fights for the freedom of lewdness. We then follow SOX in their attempts to reintroduce sexuality into the puristic Japan. So let's start with the thing which made this anime famous, the comedy. The best way to describe Shimoneta's comedy is to take Seitokai Yakuindomo, known for its overly sexual comedy, and put it on steroids. While in Seitokai it was mainly verbal humor, Shimoneta went all the way with a lot of visual sexual comedy. The most explicit scenes were censored, even in the so-called uncensored version, but Shimoneta went far beyond the line of what some people call tasteful humor. But that's the thing that made Shimoneta so funny, the truckload of over-the-top sexual comedy which created multiple awkward scenes which made me laugh and say what the fuck at the same time. A second positive point that played into these awkward scenes was Anna. Her character made this series so much better. It wouldn't have been the same without her. The way how she's obsessed with Okuma and basically constantly wants to rape him created a lot of these awkward scenes. Especially the bathroom scene in the last episode where the awkwardness went sky high. Anna was definitely the best character in Shimoneta. Another thing I liked was that there was no forced romance between Okuma and Kajo. In the second to last episode I thought that they would go that way and create a romance between the two of them in the last episode, and that would have been a big negative point because there was absolutely no build up towards that romance. So I was really happy that the creators of Shimoneta decided not to create a romance between Okuma and Kajo. Also, Anna would have probably killed Kajo on sight if that happened. And for my last positive point, I have to give credit to my fellow anime reviewer Chibi, because he pointed this out, so I didn't come up with it myself, but I completely agree with it. Chibi pointed out that Shimoneta isn't solely about sexual jokes, it's actually subtle criticism against Japanese censorship laws. We all know that Japan is pretty fucked up when it comes to sexuality, and Shimoneta addresses these problems. And it definitely succeeded in doing that, because it caused quite a ruckus in Japan, with multiple complaints of parents asking why this was allowed to air on public television. So that Shimoneta reached its goal is safe to say. But Shimoneta also had its problems. The first being that the comedy can feel repetitive after a number of episodes. The same problem that I addressed in my Seitokai review. Another problem I had was that we don't get to know a lot about Okuma's father. I was really interested in who he was, since he was quite the important character in Okuma's life. The only thing that we know about him is that he's in prison, but for the rest, nothing. So I would have liked more clarification about the relationship between Okuma and his father. But my biggest problem with Shimoneta was its ending and the last episode as a whole. That last episode felt extremely lame to me, and to me it felt like filler, like the producers suddenly realized that they were one episode short and they quickly made this last episode. The anime would have been better off ending at episode 11. I thought that the last episode would cover the ultimate confrontation between Socks and Anna's mother, but instead we got this really lame episode with an ending that felt quite anticlimactic to me. And a last thing that I want to address is that I have a big question about the concept of Shimoneta. See, the law for public order and morals in healthy child raising, which bans sexuality, was invoked 16 years ago. And since then we can say that people are dumb as hell when it comes to sexuality, especially the children. I immediately asked myself the question how the Japanese people are planning on reproducing if they don't know anything about sexuality or reproduction. Some of the characters like Kosuri were conceived after the invocation of the law, so how was she conceived? Or a better question to ask is how will the children that were born after the invocation reproduce in the future? They don't know anything about reproduction, let alone sexuality. So a little flaw in the design of Shimoneta's world there. So as a conclusion, Shimoneta is an anime that I will remember for a while, but unfortunately not because of its amazing story. I felt like the story and especially the end could have been worked out a lot better. So I'm going to rate Shimoneta at 3 out of 5 stars. If you're a fan of over-the-top sexual humor, definitely watch this anime, you will laugh your ass off. And as I said in my Sekai review, if you're not a fan of this type of ecchi comedy, don't watch it, because you will hate it even more than Sekai. And Sekai Yakuindomo is also my best recommendation for this anime. It features the same kind of over-the-top sexual humor, although it's less visual and more verbal humor. I personally liked the comedy of Sekai better than Shimoneta's, and it also has more episodes, so you have more time to feel awkward for watching it. And with that I conclude my review of Shimoneta Iu Gainen ga Sonzai Shinai Taikutsu na Sekai. As usual, you can find the full list of all my animes and reviews over at Anime Planet. As usual, I will put a link in the description box down below. Now if you want me to review a particular anime from this list, please put them in the comments. Also, if you have a recommendation for me, put it in the comments as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, visit me on Facebook and subscribe to this channel for more reviews in the future. I will say arigatou gozaimasu and I will see you all in the next video.